After years of being blacklisted from DC Comics, you would think that Graham Nolan, who calls himself a conservative and a Christian and opposing cancel culture, would act like a professional who wants the industry to change in a way that, of course, he was not afforded. You would think that somebody who has operated under those conditions for a long, long time would have at least a little bit of empathy and actually just, want to build and sell his own comics more than anything else. We did him a favor yesterday on our Fandom Pulse news website. My co-owner of the site, John Trent, interviewed Graham Nolan for his new book, The Chenu, which is underperforming. It's not doing very well, and a lot of that's the economy, and a lot of it is also the way that ComicsGate treats people in these circles. But the combo of the two is becoming a big, big problem for them, and they're, of course, circling the wagons even more. Now, I reported earlier this week that they were even attempting to cancel Graham Nolan because he launched his book on the wrong day. That's how petty these people are. That's who he's trying to appeal to at this point. It's not appealing to comic book readers, but he actually went a step further and disavowed our interview and the like. I'm going to show you the whole thing and just how sad it is, really, because again, we are trying to make a movement here that opposes mainstream comics. What mainstream comics is all about is social justice. They're all about the Whisper Network. They're all about, Marvel and DC are it, and if you're not Marvel and DC, you're not real comics. They're trying to set up this whole thing that's a big clout structure that's like a high school politicized, awful thing. And that's what we stood against from day one. When I started the ComicsGate hashtag and popularized that, that's what it was about, is rebelling against that. Now, unfortunately, it's been co-opted and it's been taken over by people who want to make the exact same thing, like a microcosm of the industry, where it's like, let's cancel conservatives and Christians out there. And it's just really sick to watch. Now, we're trying to build it back better. And I always say that our movement stands on 3 values. It's very important because if you don't define values, this is what happens. We stand for Christ first, conservatism, and comics. 3 C's right there. And we oppose cancel culture. And this is exactly what's going on today. So we will get into this and show you exactly what went on. And very, very sad. And it just goes to show I really think the state of psychology that Graham Nolan's scared right now. He's scared that he's losing his audience. He's scared that he's losing comics. And he feels like he has to, do this to circle the wagons to stay on the good graces of Ethan Van Sciver and his cancel crew. And it's just sad to watch. So let's get into the news in just a moment. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Join us here. We're trying to build a better movement, like I said. It's all about Christ, conservatism, and comics. The 3 C's. That's what the Comics First movement's doing. We're doing this here, guys. We have a wonderful group, and we're about readers. We're cultivating readers. I tell you every day about how we're building a Substack where I'm just giving you comics. It's really funny. It's like, he's grifting. I'm like, okay, well, here's free comics. Okay. I just want you guys reading, because reading gets people, one, more active within the culture, and of course, paying attention to things within the culture. And 2, of course, the more you read, the more intelligent you get, right? And I think that's a problem, is a lot of people just are not reading these days. It's causing a lot of issues. Now, if you read my interview with Graham Nolan, or rather John Trent, you can look at this here and you could see this, and you could see we were just trying to be nice to the guy. And people can't parse that out because they don't read. They just watch live streams, and the live streams are just nasty with these blood sports and things like that. And you notice I don't really engage in any of that type of stuff. I'm not really on anybody's shows because I just work, right? And that's what we got to get back to. So that's our movement here. I hope you'll join us. Hit the like and subscribe button. And of course, let's get into this news right here. So let's see. Here we are. Here is the interview around the world. Now, what happened here was John Trent reached out to Graham Nolan to do an interview. Now, if you don't know our history, you have to go into the background of all of this. John Trent and I met at Bounding Into Comics. He was running that site, and he found me for whatever reason. And I think I was getting canceled by the left, the usual. And I think he interviewed me, and then eventually it was like, okay, how about I write an article or two periodically for you? And that ended up being more and more and more. And I started, of course, working for Bounding Into Comics for a while. And so Bounding Into Comics was the one outlet out there that covered Graham Nolan, Ethan Van Sciver, Eric July, anything like that, and actually did it well and actually was positive towards them. Now, Bounding Into Comics got bought out by a corporate group, and that corporate group then started censoring John Trent for his Christian beliefs. They said they didn't want him inserting his Christian beliefs into articles, and so John Trent backed away and left and quit. And at that point, they offered me a salary, a pretty decent salary, just to write one article a day. It was actually less work than I'm doing now for more money. And I said okay at the time because I thought, you know what, maybe John's just being a little extreme on stuff. So I wrote a article about DC Comics and Marvel Comics and how woke they are and just how they're promoting LGBTQ propaganda and the like. And they sat on it for 3 weeks and they wouldn't run it. And I'm like, okay. So they censored me as well. So I left as well. Now, at that point, John Trent went and joined That Park Place, which is a website run by YouTubers, and he ran that and actually built it very, very successful. I started Fandom Pulse, built this, made it pretty successful, not as much as it is now, but it was going excellently, of course. And so we were both having these nice websites, and even though we're direct competitors, John Trent actually became one of my best friends at the time, and it's because he is a really wonderful man. He's a hardcore Catholic, hardcore conservative. He is most honest person out there. And if anybody like a grifter, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? Gay ops, it's like they shout these words. This guy is the most ethical person I've ever seen operate in any sort of journalistic capacity at all. He is like a model human being. Like, I wish I could live up to what he does because he, honestly, I look at him as a role model. Now, he's also a better writer than me in terms of journalism, and I know that, and I'm okay with that. And that's the thing. Like, these guys are so much about ego in comics that they can't admit these kind of things. It's kind of sad. And so this is where it's at. So John Trent got censored again. The company that hired him did the exact same thing, didn't want him to put his Christianity into it. And so even though he built them up to more than 1 million views a month, which he had bounding into comics at 3 million views a month over time, they did the exact same thing. And so he left, and I said, you know what, I've got Phantom Pulse. I'll give you a half ownership of it, and why don't you just come over here and let's just build this on Substack where we don't have to get advertising revenue. So again, we're not doing anything for clicks or anything like that because, again, it doesn't matter how many people click on this for us. We don't get any advertising revenue. We have our subscriber base that supports us because they want to actually have a culture war news website that actually reports the truth that these other companies don't do. And so that's what they come to us for. And our subscriber base is wonderful. They're very loyal. And a lot of them are comic and book readers because they come from my background. A lot of them have followed me from, of course, what I'm doing here and what I'm doing with my books and the like. And so that's where this whole thing is. We don't get advertising revenue. We don't care about clicks, nothing like that. So John and me, I have been working on this for over a year. There's nothing new about it. In fact, if you look at ComicsGate up until about 4, 5, 6 months ago, they were reading our articles on their live streams. And of course, they knew that we were the only news website that reports on anything in comics like this stuff. If you look at our comics section right here, I've got Mike Barron brings back Weird Western with Bronze Star 2, just a positive article on that. Of course, the interview. Matt Fraction quietly brings back Robin's gay boyfriend. Nobody's reporting on this. Comic shop owner Kathleen Lincoln charged with Class G felony for distributing obscene literature. She was putting out sexualized material to kids. Of course, nobody reported on that. Fan savage Harley Quinn's design in Absolute Batman, how the comic book industry fakes success through controlled media. This is a really good one. I highly recommend reading. And then Absolute Batman annual creator Daniel Warren Johnson explains his intent behind Batman killing police. And so this is the truth of what's going on in comics right here over the last week. It's been very, very heavy with SJW stuff. And of course, we're promoting alternatives in the conservative and Christian space. That's their entire motive and modus of operandi here. So, like I said, we're the only news source that's out there. And by the way, fandompulse.com, sign up, go look at our news, subscribe to it. It's very important, of course, to keep this going. So John Trent this week came to me and said, hey, I did an interview with Graham Nolan. And of course, he likes Graham Nolan, has backed his books before, so have I. And Graham Nolan says he's a Catholic, says he's conservative. Like I said, I've known for back in the day he's been blacklisted for a long time with his longtime partner Chuck Dixon, who they were legends on Batman, and I was one of the few people who ever reported positively on his stuff. Now Graham might not remember this, but back on Kickstarter before he teamed with EVS, I was the only person who would have him on a show. I would have him on. He was struggling to get $25,000 funding for his Monster Island back then. He had no following. And of course, I brought him on my channel. You can go and look up John Delarose, Graham Nolan, and you'll find my interview with him years ago. Very friendly. And I knew he was struggling and having a time of it at the time. And I actually hired him, even though, he has pretty high prices for what his deal, to do a cover for one of my books. And he worked with me. So he knows that, one, I'm good to work with. I care about this. I'm long-term care about this. I'm a good guy. I'm a loyal friend and all that. And of course, the minute that he teams up with Ethan Van Sciver, it's throw me under the bus because I don't know. I guess he cares more about the short term than the long term here. Now, long term, just think about this, guys. There's nobody else who covers any of these comics whatsoever. You don't get this. There's a comic book media out there. There's of course CBR.com, right? You got this one, and they mostly even cover bigger pop culture stuff like Star Trek, and not just comics anymore. The ones that are comic centric, AIPT here. This one's just that's not even the right one. Association of Professional Tacticians, PT Comics. Let's see. It's here we are. AIPTcomics.com. Sorry about that. They do interviews with people. They give previews of books, much like we do right here, right? And this is like the outlet that the comics goes to. They go to ComicsGate.com as well. Here's another one that they go to. And none of these cover crowdfunding books at all, let alone they're never going to touch anything by a Graham Nolan or an Ethan Van Sciver or Eric July. They're going to pretend it doesn't exist because they want to shut it out, right? And so that's what we're up against, and that's exactly what we started to compete against. Now, we actually get more clicks per month than AIPT or ComicsBeat, which only covers the mainstream They get interviews with Matt Fraction and all that. We get more clicks than them. I mean, it's crazy. So we're actually doing better in terms of like moving in the culture, and of course being able to move the needle for people than even something like that. So it makes sense. Like you would want to, as a Graham Nolan, as a even a John Malin or whatever, you'd want to be on here because not only this, but we're on Substack, right? So Substack is a mailing list in addition to just a website. There are people whose email addresses this blasts out to. Graham Nolan's interview and promoting his comic book went out to 5,200 people. Now, that sort of mailing list, that size of mailing list, is big enough that like people pay to get attention on mailing lists like this. There's actually paid services that they have 5,000, 10,000 people on a mailing list. You pay them $25, $50, and they'll blast out your book. I mean, basically, this is something that is worth paid advertising revenue for the mainstream. And we don't do that because we just try to help out people. That's all we care about here. So John came to me and said he interviewed this guy. And I said, well, I know he doesn't like me because a few months ago, what happened was Ethan Van Sciver started attacking his longtime partner, Chuck Dixon, who wrote with Batman. And Ethan Van Sciver was nasty about it. He called him a has-been. He said all these things, all because Chuck Dixon works for Eric July on the Rippaverse. It was really ugly. It was attacking his books, etc. So it started up a controversy. A lot of people were asking Graham Nolan, it's like, why aren't you saying anything? And like, you got to stop this like kind of cancel culture thing for associating with Eric July. And Graham Nolan started swearing at people over it, and it was really, really bad. And he's like, and he cares more about just sitting on Ethan's live streams and getting those bucks than even defending his like longtime collaborator. I mean, it's really gross. So I said something. I said, Graham, this is really gross behavior. Like, you're a Catholic, you're a conservative, you've been a part of cancel culture. Like, this is like be better, you know? I mean, honestly, you understand what it's like to be canceled. Say something. Like, use your stature. And here's the thing. If any of these kings or whatever, ComicsGate kings, just said like, hey, knock it off. We don't want to be a part of this cancel culture stuff. We want to build something and sell comics, like, and actually make the comic industry better. You know, if these guys stood up and did this, and some of them do, by the way, like one of them is messaging me this morning and actually prefaced everything with, it can't get out that I'm talking to you. And it's like, gosh, it's so sad. Like, it can't get out that you're talking to me. And that's where this comes to a full head here. So this gets wild. So I called it out, and Graham Nolan, in response, swore at me. He called me names. He blocked me, said all these awful things about me. And I'm just sitting here like, I promoted you when nobody else would. I hired you when nobody else would. And like, you know what's going on here, but you have to signal that hard to your little high school girl social club. It's really, really bad behavior. And I expect more. The thing is, with a guy like this, I expect more, because I expect a conservative and a Christian who's been canceled to really, like, you know, want to fight this sort of thing. I mean, that's why we're here. We thought, right? But that group is not about that. They are just the same thing in the same comic industry, and they're failing. They are losing their audience. Graham's book is doing terribly right now. His last book did terribly. And the thing is, like, he's like the C level of the kings. There's A, which is Ethan Van Sciver, and then there's B, which is John Malin and Shane Davis, and then there's everybody else. And those guys, they're getting like 300, 400, 500 backers. Graham's on track maybe to do 500 or 600 backers for this. Like, he should be over 1,000. He's got the talent for this, but he's paired with this nonsense, and nobody wants it anymore. And so we're trying, and of course, John, like I said, did an interview with him and came to me, and I said, well, okay, I guess, and there was a discussion on Thursday. It's like, I guess go ahead and run it. The guy doesn't like me. I don't really like promoting people who like have tried to cancel me, but I guess like my thought is he's a Catholic conservative. I don't care if he likes me or not. We'll promote his book. That's fine because I want to be about the movement and about the principles, right? And so I said, okay. And so John posted it, and that was that. And so went up Saturday morning. We always do interviews on Saturday mornings, and I think last week we had Chuck Dixon. We've had a bunch of different people over time, and they're always wonderful, right? I even had Lois McMaster Bujold, one of my sci-fi heroes, on here. It was great. And so you could see this is what we do. You've got a new comic book. Can you tell me about it? And here's the link, right? And here it is. It's a prequel to the first one, and he gives his pitch. What attracts you to do horror in comic books? He says, I was a monster kid. What are some of the difficulties in trying to do horror in comic books? I would assume the lack of sound might be a big one. Are there ways you thought of to address these difficulties? What underrated project from your bibliography would you most like new readers to discover? So look at this. We're not even like going into culture war topics too much. I mean, we do later down below, but we ask him about books. And who else is going to do this again? Nobody. Like AIPT's not going to interview him. Comicbook.com's not going to interview him. They're not going to ask him about what books he's working on, how his process is. We are treating these folk like the professionals they deserve to be treated. And this is going to be the response. It's really, really sad. So anyway, this went out. It gained him about 10 backers. From what I could tell, it's got him about 30 different clicks to his website. So you're welcome. And that was that. So yesterday, it went up, and I said, thank you for doing this. Like, we do need to stand together as Catholics and conservatives, and it doesn't matter like what our little tribalism crap is. And this is it. So Student of God posted leaving CG and joining JDA. Pretty funny. Well, this is Student of God baits a bit with ComicsGate stuff. Now, I don't know what this has to do with leaving CG, right? But he says this. He did an interview. I wonder what was talked about. And of course, I appreciate that because it gets eyes on the interview. But look at this. Like, Graham has to like disavow immediately. I did an interview for John Trent. If this is a JDA site, I was interviewed under false pretenses and they purposefully did not disclose. So look at this. I'm like, what? Now he's created this drama. He's created manufactured outrage because we promoted his book, and he's not allowed to, under Ethan Van Sciver, associate with somebody who's associating with me. That's cancel culture. This is wild. And so what do you mean disclose stuff? Like, it's crazy. And so you get into it a little bit later. A lot of people go, it's scummy. All the ComicsGate people join in on here saying it's unprofessional not to disclose the name of the publication, right? So here it is. To be clear, Trent told me the name of the publication. He didn't mention he worked for a JDA. So this is interesting because I know Graham's done interviews back in the day before he was canceled. But when Wizard Magazine did interviews with you, Graham, did you want the interviewer to disclose every single person who was invested in the group that owned Wizard Magazine just to make sure that they were pure enough for you? You never did that. And they're left-wing, right? When a CBR would have interviewed you back in the day, did you care that they were owned by Valnet, an evil leftist corporation that teams with Google and actually manipulates algorithms and creates all the fake news and entertainment? No, you didn't care. You interviewed with them because you wanted that clout from the leftist establishment, the fake news, to cover your books. You didn't care one bit. Now that we did it, and we're not establishment, we're the outsiders, right? Suddenly you care, right? You care who owns a website, whatever. Now, here's the thing. Who works for JDA, he is a co-owner in this, so he doesn't even work for me. He works for himself, and he does what he wants. He posts whatever he wants to the website. I post whatever I want to the website. It's not a thing like that. So got it wrong again. But again, it's just about canceling at this point. If you got a boost in backers, that's what matters. Here it is. Should have disclosed who it was for. It was for you, Graham. We tried to help you. That's all this was about. Here it is. Why are you being a little bitch? Don't you want the promotion? Promotion is one thing. They used me for divisive purposes. Now, you read the interview questions. Were we using them for divisive purposes, or were we just promoting him and just saying things here? Now, if you look at the comments down below, again, I enjoyed reading that. Thank you. Awesome. I'll have to check out the Chenu. I haven't seen it yet. And this was a great interview. I'll have somehow to find a way to budget both time and money to fit into it. So what's divisive about this? I didn't say anything divisive. The only person who said anything divisive and made a cancel sort of thing about it was Graham Nolan. And he just did it out of the blue because some guy said something. Very odd, right? And so again, this became a big thing, and then it got amplified, and you could tell where it comes from. It always comes from Ethan Van Sciver. Look at this like wall of text just crying about this. This is underhanded behavior. Graham is correct and justified in calling it out. Again, John Trent, most ethical guy out there. He knew what website it was for, right? but yes, do I have to list every contributor to the website to make sure they're all pure enough for you too, Graham? Like, I mean, because there's 6-8 other contributors for the website as well. Do you need to know? Do you ask CBR that? Of course not. The only reason it matters is because Ethan Van Sciver wants me canceled personally, and it's really, really sad. And so Graham has to signal that, and it's really, really sick. John Trent didn't do anything wrong in interviewing him. It was a favor to Graham. It got him backers. He should be thanking John and thanking me for posting it. JDA and the slimy crowd have been wanting Graham to leave CG for a long time. Again, I never said anything about him leaving CG. You can even look at my responses on this. Like, I never said a word about this. Here it is. I'm happy to promote conservative and Christian art, even if they hate me irrationally. Some may say I'm just too nice, but I really care about transforming the culture over my own pride. Ethan said, oh, yes, look at how Student of God posted about the interview. It was a gay op setup, not actual. Look at what they make up about this. Weird. These guys are work together to create disharmony when they could just join me in Graham and making comics great again. Okay. So I actually asked the question. I said, Ethan, we'd be happy to join you in making comics great again. What do you think we should do? I'm over here making them better than they've ever been. And I hold up my book here. This is a real Italian leather-bound book. We just came out with this for our backers. This is the highest quality comic production probably ever made. It is beautiful. It feels so good in my hands. It's so nice. It's got this awesome paper with with a beautiful design on the cover that actually like makes it just like look even classier. And our art's in like giant oversized version as well. So beautiful stuff with our excellent book that's like very similar to like Valerian and Laureline, some of the good European comics. This is the highest quality comic. We're making comics great again, Ethan. Like, what else do you want us to do? Didn't answer, of course. It's just about the rhetoric. It's about virtue signaling. It's about saying this person's bad, so cancel them. That's all that's happening right here. And I'd love to. If I want to join Graham in making comics great again, well, didn't I just kind of try to promote his book? I mean, what else would you like me to do? No answer. It's not about that. It's about hating me, right? And that's exactly what they want all the way through this. Graham and I had a minor disagreement last week, so John Trent, acting on orders from Head Weasel JDA, got an interview from Graham for their low-traffic website. Again, we get about 300,000 views a month. We do a little better than AIPT or ComicsBeat. It's pretty funny. And so they got fired from Bounding Into Comics, which is a lie. John started Bounding Into Comics and sold it and then quit because they were censoring his conservative and Christian articles. And Ethan knows this. He's lying again just to like drum things and just try to make me mad is really what he's trying to do. And I'm not going to let it get to me because it's just sad at this point. The idea was to come use that interview as evidence that Graham was leaving CG to come join JDA's Gong Show Reject Club. Again, I never said anything about leaving CG nor cared. We were just promoting his book, right? I just gave the go-ahead. I didn't even do anything with this. Like, I had nothing to do with this. I think John asked to interview Graham 2-3 weeks ago, and then finally got back to him on this, as I recall, too. So, let's see. Did he send me anything about this? When did this all come out? I don't know. But I don't know. He did it all on his own. He doesn't care about any of this stuff because he's not involved in any of this stuff. So they could all giggle together as Ripatard spread that gossip. Now, this is all gossip here. None of this is true, right? Graham shut it down, announcing he didn't know the website he did for an interview was owned by JDA, a scumbag who called Graham Judas on Easter Sunday and has been harassing him all year about his religion and faith. Well, I've been asking, I said, you know what? You're a Catholic. You're a conservative. I'm a Catholic. I'm a conservative. What are you doing attacking people on this side, being a part of this canceling Eric July, who's a Christian conservative? Why are you doing this? You're better than this. And I still think he's better than this. And I'm still going to just hammer that drum. I don't want any bad to happen to Graham. We tried to promote him. I want good. I want everybody to be back on track and on the same page because I do have a mission. And like I said, maybe I'm too nice. Maybe I just try to look for the best in things. I'm an idealist, and I want the ideals of conservatives, Christ, comics. I want those ideals hammered into our culture, and I don't care what it takes. I don't care if somebody's mad at me for helping, and that's that. Anyhow, that's what this was about. So look at how he made up what this was about. It's all just like complete fake information, and it doesn't even say anything. It just says JDA bad, and JDA bad, and it's very, very odd. And as you go through here, there's a bunch of fake sock accounts. So after you get through these, which are all, by the way, look at all that he's pushing back against people who's saying, This is all pretty good. You just got pure stuff, purity spiral test. If not negative or edited, who gives a shit, right? LOL, news article can write whatever they want. Welcome to America. Also, word on the street is cigar looks awful. I mean, this is just somebody being mean to him. Only paying subscribers get to read the whole thing. Yeah, we put it about halfway through. That's what we do for interviews. You get to read the first half, and then that's where the book is so that you can buy it because we want to make sure that Graham gets the stuff. And then if you care about the spicier culture war content, we kind of put that at the bottom, and that's it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how our website works, Kentucky Scroll. So very odd stuff. Yeah, this is a full-on JDA site, has a bad history. What bad history? They never elaborate. They just say bad, right? I assumed you were being interviewed because it was a right-leaning comic geek-based site. Obviously be interested in getting the chance to have a chat with you. Well, it doesn't matter. Like, Graham doesn't move the needle. Nobody cares about Graham Nolan in our circles. We're getting him exposed to our audience, right? He's that person who has like 400, 300 backers on his project. People might remember the name from Batman, but it's not like this is a draw, right? Our biggest clicked deal of the week is actually this. Apple TV's Pluribus is getting an LGBTQ propaganda piece. This is much bigger than comics. More people are watching Apple TV than care about independent comics. It's very silly. So, but yeah, a lot of this, no one works for JDA. All of his writers are him. That's pretty funny right there. I'll like on that. This is somebody from That Park Place who actually wanted to just boost this because they've got a Whisper network going again. It's very sad. Rice Man lied to you. I had nothing to do with this. JDA is a liar and a scumbag. Again, I didn't post this. I didn't have anything to do with this whatsoever, but it's just nice to him. So why is he complaining so much? So this is where it's at. And I doubled down today, and Mike Barron brings back the Weird Western with Bronze Star 2. And the reason I did that is I know Mike Barron hangs out with that crew a little bit too, but Mike Barron is not a cancel pig, and he writes good books. And I like his books. And he's a conservative. So I don't care, and I'm showing and I'm demonstrating that I don't care. And I'm going to show and demonstrate that we're just the bigger publication and that, all this nonsense, all this performative stuff, all these manufactured fights that these guys try to do over and over, it's not good for comics. It doesn't build the movement. It doesn't do anything. So I see one thing here. This is what I think of the overall psychology of all this. These guys are not building an audience. Nobody's growing in this audience. It's been shrinking for a long time. The Indiegogo thing that changed revealed that they have less than 1,000 backers on anybody who's not Ethan Van Sciver. Ethan Van Sciver himself has about 1,500 backers. That's all they have, and it's shrinking every single time. They're losing percentages because of behavior like this. Because unfortunately, what happens now is, I've already gotten messages like, I'm never backing a Graham Nolan book again. I'm like, that's not what I'm telling people to do here. Like, he's a conservative Christian. I would much rather you support Graham Nolan than support Daniel Warren Johnson, who wants to kill us at DC Comics, right? I consider that a win for me when you buy a Graham Nolan book instead of Absolute Batman, right? Because I care about the culture war. I don't care about anything else. I don't care if the guy likes me or whatever. But that's it. And that's what we're growing here. And they know we're the real deal over here. They know that we're doing something with Fandom Pulse that's special. They know that it's growing at absolute rates. And they actually know that we're on the precipice of just like exploding so much that they want to try to hamstring it before it gets there. Now, this doesn't make any sense. And here's the reason why humans don't make sense a lot of the time. It's short-sighted, right? I get it. They don't like me. I'm promoting their book. They don't want me to promote their book, whatever. Okay, you're welcome for the 10 backers you got out of it yesterday. Hope you like it. But here's the thing. Even if you don't like me personally or whatever, for whatever fake reason you come up with, I am building this. I'm building it with a bunch of people who are doing great work on here. What the EGAD's amazing. John Trent's amazing. Brian Niemeyer's amazing. And others who are contributing to our site. We really appreciate you guys. Good stuff. And with this, we're going to make the culture great again. That's our entire intention to do so. And it's a beautiful thing. We are working really, really hard. And here's like what I alluded to at the beginning of the video. They've got AIPT. They've got ComicsBeat. They've got CBR. They've got comicbook.com. There's nobody who's going to bother reporting on your stuff here who gets any sort of following whatsoever. I'm it. And so you're welcome. Like, building long-term. You've got your YouTube live streams where you're trashing Eric July every day, and that's all you do now. You're losing audience. It's not growing. You just look at this compared to the last campaign. It's dropping. people aren't backing the books anymore. So you need outside media outlets, just from a long-term perspective, to actually talk about this stuff and grow. And it's super important. The more successful we get at Fandom Pulse, the more that this builds, the more that it actually helps them sell their books as well. And a year or two down the line, we've been 1 year into this, and our mailing list is 5,000, right? And we're getting 300,000 views a month. Where do you think we're going to be at next year? It's going to be double that. If people stop fighting us, it could be triple or quadruple that. So what happens when we have a 10,000 or 20,000 mailing list and we do an interview and shoot that out to the comic book reading audience? You don't think that's useful? Very, very short-sighted. And that's why we're just going to continue doing what we're doing. We're going to ignore the noise. We're going to ignore this type of stuff because honestly, truth is going to win. And that's why we're doing this. It's about ethics and entertainment journalism. It's about Christ. It's about conservatism. It's about comics. And I feel bad for these guys. They are on a sinking ship. They're not moving forward. They're lashing out because they're scared. It's just a fear emotion. And they're just trying to cause all these divisions that don't really need to exist. So I hope you check out the Chenu. I hope you enjoy it. God bless it. I hope that Graham Nolan stops this nonsense. I think we need to pray for him. I think we need to pray for Ethan Van Sciver. I think they're hurting right now, especially Ethan. He's very clearly unhinged, and very clearly there's something wrong there that doesn't have to do with me. And that's it. I mean, I hope these people come around, and that's all we can do is just keep on working, my friends. That's why we're going to win. So thank you for being here, and thank you for listening today on a Sunday. God bless all of you and your families. And please check out fandompulse.com. We don't have advertising. Just sign up there. You can unpaid subscription. You can read 90% of our articles because we just do this for the culture war. And of course, if you want to support us, you can support us as well. And we appreciate everybody that does so. I lose money on it. I'll be honest on it. I do this just because I want to get the culture war going. And when I'm paying my contributors, that's the problem we have. So that's it. But I appreciate you guys for supporting us. And the growth is fantastic. We're growing. Things are great. And God bless you again.